format of this meeting is that on alternate weeks there's a step reading or a step share. This week is a step 6 step share, and somebody's going to read step 6. I don't know. This week Mary's going to share on step 6 for 20 minutes.
I'm Mary, I'm an addict. And it's good to be here today. I came to this meeting for the first time a few weeks ago, and one of the things we say in NA is that a meeting is as strong as its committee. And God, this meeting is absolutely rock solid then. I've never been so efficiently informed of chairs and things sorted out and reminders and told to get, informed to get here 15 minutes early and this, that and the other. And it's like, oh my God. And, gosh, and it's great, and I think, and there's nice tea and coffee and the meeting's set up and it works and everything's sorted out and it, and it's a sort of really pleasant experience, it's not all chaotic. You think, oh, for God's sake, I'd love a cup of tea and, the doorbell ringing all the time and no one taking responsibility for it and all that kind of stuff. It just, So thank you to the committee for asking me to come along today and to speak on step 6. And I've been in NA an awfully long time with varying degrees of success, and I'm coming up to my 17th birthday on the 17th of October this year, but I did have 5 years clean in the early 80s, and then I relapsed again for 4 years, and for lots of reasons. I mean, the main reason being that I never learned to share honestly, and about how I felt. I kind of bypassed that bit, and I didn't work the steps, and I sort of knew the steps were the key to recovery, and all my sponsees work the steps, and they're still clean. They're clean from those days, but I used because I didn't. And a lot of it was fear. The fellowship was teeny weeny then, I completely missed the point of this, this fellowship, that it is about, my recovery from the disease of addiction. And although we share, it's we, and that's what separates our fellowship from other fellowships. We preface, 11 of the steps with we. The steps are about my individual journey and about me recovering from my disease of addiction and how it's impacted on me. And there will always be someone who can identify. But actually, the steps are what make me unique. And when I'm using drugs, I am like everybody else. I have the same patterns, maybe not identical: lying, cheating, thieving, stealing, scumbag. That was me in a nutshell. And the steps are what set me free. I mean, I remember thinking, and particularly around these ones, they're the ones that are going to turn me two-dimensional into a cardboard cutout, and I'll just be this ghastly person, kind of with no opinions and no nothing. And like I wasn't when I took drugs. And, so when I came back into the fellowship, and, I also think steps 6 and 7 are kind of the harder ones to kind of get your head around. Because, the first 3 steps are about me admitting, kind of that I need help, that there is a God and I'm not it. And then, 4 and 5 are about facing my part in my past. And, mine. And when I cleaned up this time, I'd always had this thing. When I was clean the first time, I without telling anybody, in my little head, I decided that I needed to write a step 4 and find out whether I was bisexual. And in order to do that, I needed to go to Australia. So I probably wasn't in the best frame of mind anyway. And it all, and I didn't do either. I just had a breakdown and came back and used. I mean, and so, and I have done a step 4 and I'm not bisexual. And I know that today because I have worked the steps. Which is a relief to know. It's good. And so when I cleaned up this time, I knew that the thing that I needed to do, on a daily basis, I stay clean. And I came into the fellowship and I got service commitments, but I knew I needed to work these steps, and I really wanted to work them with a member, with someone in this fellowship. Before, you quite often had to go to kind of other fellowships because there weren't many more people who would, work through the steps in NA. And there was one meeting when I came in the whole country, and so I did that, and I got a sponsor. And it started to work the steps. I went into treatment, and I did, kind of did up to step 5 there, but then I came out and I came back and I got a sponsor, and halfway through my step 4, we had a huge fallout, and then I got another sponsor. We didn't have the step working guide or anything then, so it was a bit of a relief actually, and so 92 questions when you're on detox, just like, oh God, yeah, whoa. I couldn't have read that book, never mind answered any of the questions when I cleaned up. And I did through to step 5, and I did this kind of pretty epic step 4, which was really an admission of all my wrongs, which was what I needed to do at the time. I really needed to share. And there were a few things I'd done that just, I kind of almost couldn't get my head around. But I shared them, and I'd shared them with, someone in some drug rehab miles away from the country I've never seen again, which was suited me just fine. But to do, step 5 with someone in this fellowship who I'm then going to run into and hold my hands up to everything was a whole different thing. And it was a brilliant experience for me. But and I don't think I'm unique in this, decided, right, I've done step 5, now I can kick back and just kind of off I go in my life. I've done that, and step 6, and I don't really understand them, therefore I'm not going to bother with them. Moving swiftly on to step 8, and which is kind of writing and and think about defects of character, and I wasn't, the main thing was that I just didn't really understand, and there was this fear thing, and I wasn't willing to let go of a lot of my defects. I thought, oh God, I'll never fancy anyone again, I'll never have sex, and I'll just become a doormat, and people will trample all over me, and I quite like, having, opinions, even if they're wrong, but they're just my opinions, and this kind of thing. So I kind of shelved it, and then I was doing my step 9, which is, steps 8 and 9 are quite hard to do if you haven't really got, kind of work through step 6 and 7. Anyway, and then I changed sponsors again back to step 1, blah, 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 blah. And there came a point in my life, and it was, I can't remember when it was in my recovery, but I nearly lost someone their job. I used to teach yoga in Wandsworth prison, and I called one of the guards there a fucking idiot, which is really not a good move. And so the person who'd employed me nearly got the sack. I nearly got arrested for screaming at a policeman, and I got involved with several really, really murky love affairs. Is not a description. It was all about sex, and there was no love at all. And I suddenly realised that I couldn't do anything about this stuff. I couldn't stop it, and that I was spiralling out of control, and that my, defects of character, and that, grim willpower wasn't going to help me at all. And there was a moment when I suddenly just thought, this is step 6. I reached that place where I was entirely willing, and to have God remove all these defects. I realised that I could not of myself change. That to continue the way I was going to land me in really, really big shit. And because it was starting to impact on other people. And I did reach that place. And it was, I thought, now I understand. And it is an extension of faith. In the first 3 steps, I handed my kind of disease of addiction over, and 4 and 5, I clear the wreckage of my past, and so there's kind of me today. But I have many learned patterns of behaviour that didn't disappear just because I put down the drugs. A lot of stuff did, but my defects of character and some of the patterns of behaviour that I outlined in my step 4 and then held my hands up into my step 5 were there. And of my experience is that of my own, I cannot change. I need to ask my higher power to help me in this, and to be, in order for God to be able to, work in my life, I have to be entirely willing. And even if I'm not on a given day, I can just sort of pray for the willingness to make a start. And that's what I understand in step 6. And I'm never going to be a saint, sadly. Even I've accepted that. And it says here in this reading, when we learn we are growing when we make new mistakes instead of repeating old ones, and that's really sort of started to happen for me. There is some stuff, I still behave in ways that I do, but there's this new things. My least attractive defect of character that's shown its head recently. I mean, like impatience and intolerance will always be there. That's what I'm going to have to work on, kind of for the rest of my life. But a really nasty new one is bullying. I can be just a bully, and I quite often find that there are people who kind of set themselves up for that, and I normally try and have, I realised, one friend who I can do that to, and it's so unattractive. And I've worked for myself for years, and I've just gone into, I've got this sweet friend who's in recovery in another fellowship as well, and we've set up this business partnership, and I struggle with that. I do struggle with it, and she is a saint to want to work with me, because I'm not easy on occasion, and I am sort of very reactive, and I really slaughtered her one night, and I was quite proud of myself the next day. I thought, well, I'm right, so it's okay that I do that. And then actually one of my sponsees pointed out, well, maybe that wasn't so nice, Mary. And kind of after that, this kind of sinking feeling of, oh my God, I've been horrible. I am not a nice person when I'm like that. And I rang my friend Dale, who lives in a caravan in Stroud, and he said, well, step 6 and 7, isn't it, Mary? And I was like, oh, thank you. I've not suddenly, I went into that place of, I'm a fundamentally flawed person and I'll never be okay and I'm ghastly and blah, 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 blah. And, just talking and sharing and with a friend in these fellowships and reminding myself, that, I never, this program, I love being in NA because it is a journey and it enables me to change as my life changes, and the goal is today. It's right here, right now. I don't know where I'm going to be. Well, even tomorrow, what's going to happen. But, right here, right now, the program, the steps, the tools, they enable me to be the best Mary I can be and to enjoy my life as much right here, right now as I can. And, particularly when I am, acting on my defects of character, that's just gone. They take me away from my life. I end up using so much energy just either to indulge them or kind of step away from them that I miss what's going on. And a lot of the time today, in my life, I really feel okay. More than okay. I'm really present in whatever I'm doing. And I get, enormous enjoyment out of it and sort of pleasure. And that feeling which I had for so many years is that, there's something fantastic happening and I'm not there. Well, there is something fantastic happening and I'm right here, and it's right here, right now, and I am there. And, it really is fantastic. Sometimes people who've not been in the rooms as long as they've come on why do you continue to do this stuff? You know, you've got donkeys you clean and your life sorted, and blah blah blah. And, you know, because it is a journey, because it just does continue, and I love, you know, this is the most perfectly democratic sort of organisation in the world. You know, as each of us as a member has exactly the same rights in this fellowship. You know, no one is better or worse. And I love that. I love the fact that we just cut through absolutely everything. And it is we. It's about us. You know, of my own, I'm shooting speed in a phone box in Newquay. Nearly dying. Blagging money off a cleaner to go and buy a set of works. You know, that's where my using takes me. And plugged into this fellowship, I have a life absolutely, you know, beyond my wildest dreams. And, you know, for a lot of my recovery, you know, well, not for a lot, but, you know, for some of my recovery, a lot of it was act as if, you know, I did lose all my morals, my ethics. And so to act in the kind of the right way, it sort of was an act. And there was a part of me that wanted to get well, but there was another part of me, I had lost that ability. And, you know, the first thing that I did and became committed to was service commitments. You know, that was, I committed to doing that. They helped me turn up on time regularly. And, you know, I don't minimise the impact. I mean, you know, if you've served on any kind of service committee in this fellowship, any other committee meeting that you ever go to in the world is a breeze. It really is. It's an absolute piece of cake. And you know, kind of, and now, you know, working through the steps, looking at myself, and of which step 6 is really, really a, you know, integral part. Because the first 5 steps, you know, are really about the past, and step 6 is the step where we move into the recovery, you know, and I didn't realise at the time, you know, I did this, hey, wow, I've done my step 5, you know, I'm going to take some time out now, and you know, and I really see that today, you know, step 6 is where the change, you know, obviously the big changes start when I put down the drugs and start to do this, but the changes, the internal changes start when, you know, really started with step 6. That's when I started to kind of really step out to it. And now a lot of the time, you know, my instincts are great. You know, that is who I am today. There still comes a thing, you know, if it comes on to, I think, oh, can I lie? And, you know, my head goes to lying and I run out of money. I think, oh, God, what can I sell? Me, my house, you know, that I still kind of go to those places, but they're fleeting thoughts and I don't do it anymore. And, you know, and I have the, you know, the tools to be a part of this. You know, I love being a member of Narcotics Anonymous. It's the best thing I've ever done in my life. Who I am today, the life I have today, is 100% down to this. And why the fuck would I ever change that? So thank you. I'll leave it there.
Okay, my name's Jason. I'm an addict. Meetings, raised hand sharing, and Frankie will choose the sharers this week. So please share your experience on the step. Share.